Depending on who you ask, this printer is either a piece of junk or the best budget machine you can buy. So what's the real story? We bought one to settle the score. We've pushed the Anycubic Kobra S1 to its limits to find out if it deserves the hate or if it's just misunderfoot. In fact, we've uncovered so much about this machine, we've had to break it into 2 videos, so be sure to watch part 2. The community is completely split. You've got forum threads filled with horror stories about error codes and failed prints. Then on the other hand, there are users who swear it's their reliable workhorse and have done thousands of hours on it and are still producing stunning high quality prints. So what you're looking at is a Core XY printer with multicolour capabilities at a price that almost seems too good to be true, often undercutting its biggest rivals. This machine is a walking contradiction. So today we're settling the debate. We'll cover the setup, wrestle with the slicer software and see what the hardware can really do, then give you a final verdict. We'll also cover what we think is the essential parts inventory for this printer to ensure that you don't have downtime. The first thing you notice is the build quality, and it gives you a clue about the printer's whole philosophy. It's fully enclosed Core XY printer, which is fantastic for stability and speed, and it's also great for printing materials like ABS that hate drafts. But it's a passively heated chamber, meaning that there's no active heater inside. So while it holds in heat from the bed and the hot end, where competitors use glass panels, Anycubic went with plastic for the door and lid. It feels a little cheaper, but it also makes the printer lighter and maybe even a bit tougher in a classroom or workshop where things get knocked around. It's a cost-saving measure, but a clever one that doesn't hurt the printer's core job. It might just struggle with some really high temp engineering materials right out of the box. Once it's unpacked, you fire up the initial calibration. The auto bed leveling and vibration compensation are features you'd expect on a modern printer, and they're handled through a big responsive touchscreen. So for us, the auto leveling worked as a charm, and we just got a solid first layer right out of the box. I recommend you don't touch a thing for at least the first month and run this printer completely stock, and you'll understand why shortly. After some amazing first prints with the machine as delivered, I made the silly mistake of installing an aftermarket ceramic printhead. Some users had reported these heated up much faster, so they saved a lot of time. A month of pain followed. I don't think this was Anycubic's fault, but all due to my inexperience. I had clogging on the very first print, and filament had oozed out above the heat break and solidified. I had no idea how to clear this. I found also the Bowden tube entering the extruder gets deformed during original assembly and required opening the extruder to remove it. Whilst resolving this, the filament sensor in the extruder flew apart, and I had no idea where the tiny spring and pendulum landed. Ouch! I eventually found that spring and bet it in my foot, but the pendulum is still AWOL to this day. As an aside, trimming 3mm or so from the bottom of the Bowden tube makes it a lot easier to remove it the next time. I contacted Anycubic support and they sent me a new hot end, heat break and extruder. I also bought a couple of spare hot ends from their website. I asked them if I could buy another extruder as it wasn't listed on their website. They emailed me a list to enter payment and address details, which I thought was pretty cool. The extruder only cost me $26. So following some advice from the Facebook group, I took the heat break out to the shed and cleared the blockage with a red hot piece of wire. This allowed me to print, but without the filament sensor, I could not use the ACE unit. Anyway, it wasn't long before I got another blockage in the heat break. The parts arrived, and to my horror, I found the wires to the fan on the hot end cover had both broken off. It's very easy to do this because if you pull that cover off, the wires can dangle down and you have the cover hanging by these wires. So my ham-fisted attempt to resolder them failed and I was stuck again. I did some thinking and decided that there had to be an undiagnosed fault causing this blockage. So I asked Anycubic what might happen if the heat break fan wasn't working. They said that the filament would melt and ultimately ooze out of the top of the heat break, which was exactly what happened to me. So they sent me 2 fans and the circuit board, which let me get the machine working again at last. The machine was reporting an odd blockage printing from the ACE, but it always allowed me to resume. I noticed that the filament was generally slightly pinched on the roll when this happened, and releasing this pinch allowed me to continue. So I guessed that the extruder might slip due to this added tension and the machine would report a blockage. So I added more extruder tension by screwing the adjustment screw out half a turn, and this thing hasn't missed a beat since. I'm so excited. But I made one more stuff up. I forgot to tighten the hot end when changing nozzles. The hot end fell down and started to gouge holes in the build plate, tearing off the PEI coating. So this must be why they give you a double-sided plate, because you can just turn it over and keep going. Anyway, I told Anycubic support about this and they sent me a new build plate. So the machine is pristine again. And I thought this was pretty generous on their part for something that was 100% my error. In summary, I lost faith in this machine for a while and would have happily accepted a refund. But I kept thinking if the machine was working perfectly when it arrived, I must have introduced it a fault that we hadn't diagnosed. So persevering until we solved this problem was well worth it, and it's fully restored my faith in the S1. It stands to reason if a machine is cheap, it might need a bit more servicing. Anycubic give good support for parts, but that leads to downtime if you don't have those parts on hand, and that is frustrating. Stick to genuine parts initially and contact Anycubic support if parts are not listed. They are genuinely helpful. So here's my must-have list for best uptime. A spare hot end, a spare extruder, a spare PEI build plate, a rail hook to hang hot end cover on to prevent wire breakage, a Bowden tube remover, and a scraper. Now the last 3 of these can be printed, so there's not much that is listed there that you need to spend hard cash on. Conclusions. With single colour printing, the Kobra S1 is a star. It's fast, the Core XY design is rock solid, and the print quality is genuinely impressive. It lays down clean, accurate layers that can go toe to toe with the best printers on the marketplace. While it advertises a blazing fast 600mm a second top speed, you'll realistically be printing in the 200 to 300mm a second range for great results with most materials, which is still plenty fast. For standard one colour jobs, it's a dependable machine that rarely fails. Just remember the stock nozzle is brass, so you'll want to upgrade to a hardened steel one before trying printing with abrasive filaments like carbon fibre. The Anycubic Kobra S1 is a fantastic hardware kit. It has incredible potential, but you have to be willing to unlock it. The machine itself is practically begging to be great, but it's shackled by a difficult service print head. Would I buy one again? Absolutely. So be sure to watch part 2 where we analyse the Anycubic neck slicer and the ACE multicolour unit and make our final conclusions about the total package. If this video has helped you out, do me a favour and hit the like button and subscribe for more honest reviews where we find out that what these machines are really like. If you're in the market, follow the links in the description to get a discount I've negotiated. Thanks for watching and happy printing.